Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and welcome to Kentucky Newsmakers. We hope you've been enjoying a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. Lexington leaders have decided to go it alone on minimum wage. The City Council voted to raise the local minimum to $10.10 an hour over a 3-year period. Mayor Jim Gray had called for a national answer to low-end wages, but in the end he supported the local measure. The city is also essentially getting out of the taxi cab regulation business, with Uber and Lyft changing the landscape. There's talk of a major renovation at the Lexington Convention Center, and a new governor is about to be sworn in. Matt Bevin says he wants to jumpstart the state's economy. We'll ask Mayor Gray what he knows about the incoming governor. Mayor Gray, who is with us today, has also been urged by some to consider a run for Congress of his own next year from Central Kentucky. We'll see where he is on that. And it is the holiday season, a lively time for Lexington as a regional shopping hub, as well as a venue for lots of special events. Lexington Mayor Jim Gray with us today on Kentucky Newsmakers. Thanks for coming.
Bill, great to be here again.
Appreciate it as always. Let's talk about the Breeders' Cup, first of all. You've been assessing the impact, and it apparently was major.
Well, you know, Breeders' Cup was just a major event for Lexington. I would say in my lifetime, it's probably arguably the largest, most significant event that the city has ever put on. And Keeneland did a super job, just a great job. And remarkably, no traffic jams, and we had the football game that night and trick or treat, and we survived it all in a really remarkable way. And the economic impact was estimated to be $65 million fully, and we'll soon get that report that confirms that full economic impact. But it put Lexington on the spotlight nationally and internationally, and we just couldn't buy that kind of marketing for our city. It was just really amazing.
There's already some talk of trying to do it again at some point. Does anybody have in mind, a time frame?
Well, you know, the leadership of the Breeders' Cup, Craig Fravel, Bob Elliston, they said, well, we could even say it on the record today, that Lexington did an amazing job, and as good a job as anyone ever has, and really has set the new standard for the Breeders' Cup. Some have said, actually, that, Lexington did the Breeders' Cup the way Augusta does the Masters, which is really inspiring, and that's a remarkable tribute.
A high compliment, certainly.
Yep.
Let's get right to this minimum wage issue. You had talked about your reluctance to see Lexington do it alone, but then in the end you agreed to support this local hike. What factors led to your decision?
Well, I've always said that I supported a raise in the minimum wage, and the appropriate place to do that is at the federal level, so there's an even playing field. For 80 years, almost 100 years, the minimum wage has been addressed at the federal level. And this is disturbing, and that the federal, that our Congress should not deal with it. It puts a burden on our municipalities, our states, that shouldn't be there. This is an issue that should be addressed at the federal level. At the end of the day, though, it's the right thing to do. And that's entirely the reason that I supported it. For too long, we've ignored this issue at the federal level, and now states and municipalities like Lexington have had to take it up. Now, it's a tribute to our city council and the leadership on our city council that the issue has been taken up and has been addressed, and that's the reason that I supported it.
Did you have any concerns that businesses in Lexington might have a higher cost of doing business than people just across the county line who would be able to observe the standard minimum? Yeah,
that's the argument, Bill, that has perhaps prevented the minimum wage from being addressed at the local levels. But our city decided to examine it carefully, and we did examine it carefully, and the tiered step up is an appropriate approach to it. I've been in business all my life, and found that addressing and dealing with adjusting to the minimum wage adjustments in a business is not insurmountable. As I said, it's the right thing to do, and that's the reason that I came down on the side of supporting the adjustments.
As you hear people argue that issue, there are those who say that a lot of people earn the minimum wage, and you hear some who say that not many do, and that if a worker is good, they're immediately promoted above and beyond that. Did you get, during this debate, excuse me, a feeling of how many people might be affected locally?
Well, this this argument, Bill, that you've just described is one that's every time the minimum wage is adjusted for now since Franklin Roosevelt was president and before Roosevelt was president. It was, I believe, in Teddy Roosevelt's time, so it was so many years ago. And every time that the issue is addressed, that's the debate that arises. But over time, what we've seen is that this is the appropriate thing to do, and that's the reason that I supported it.
Anyone who drives through Lexington sees Centrepointe still waiting to be developed. What is the latest you've heard from the developers there? How seriously do you take their proposal to include a new city hall on that site?
Well, there's nothing new to report. The developers are still working on their plan, and the city is working with them as it is appropriate to work with them. I've said clearly that it's premature to talk about a city hall on that site. Now, do we need a new city hall? Well, we're spending twice to maintain the current city hall. Energy costs, maintenance costs are double what a contemporary building, a modern building, would cost us to operate. So an adjustment there needs to be made, but that issue has to be addressed as an independent issue of what is being developed at Centrepointe. Of course, we encourage the new developers to work as aggressively as they can, as swiftly as they can. I'm frustrated by that hole in the ground, just like others are, in the middle of our city, and but it's an important location, so it's important that it be done right.
Are they in contact with you regularly?
Not regularly, but with the staff at the city. Of course, a large development like that involves our city's planning department, our building inspection department, so there's a routine engagement with city officials.
We had there was some talk, some feel that maybe by about February or March was likely when we would see some more ground turning and some things happening there. Are you tired of putting time frames out there on that one?
You know, I've said from the very beginning of this project that it was extraordinarily ambitious for a city the size of Lexington, but we've got what we've got. It would be premature for me to speculate on a timetable for the project.
Do you have any alternatives in mind for City Hall? Somewhere you could go or something you could do to, as you said, to try to hold down this cost?
Well, that's the reason that, to answer a question like that is the reason that we hire subject matter experts or really talented, those who are talented in the field. I learned in the construction business and being involved in thousands of projects that you do first things first. And first things first in a case like this is to do a site evaluation or site selection study. And that's what the city has hired consultants to do. To evaluate sites in the city that are available both for new construction and perhaps for rental of space. But cities historically have owned their own city hall. That's been and why is that? Because cities have very sustainable revenue streams, and those revenue streams support a very low cost of capital to build projects.
When are those recommendations due to you on the City Hall?
Well, they should be emerging soon.
Okay. You had a vision for a total redesign at Rupp Arena and Arts District and all of that we've talked so much about a year and a half ago or so. That is on hold, but Lexington Center wants to now expand the convention center. Are you in support of their efforts?
I am in support of their efforts, and the consultant for the convention center, a man named John Katz, has described the current condition as close to disastrous if we don't do something. And we've already lost one of the major conventions, the largest convention, the Coal Prep Convention. And the recommendations, 3 recommendations now over almost 15 years have encouraged an expansion of the Civic Center exhibition space by almost 50%, from 6,000 square feet to 100,000 square feet for the main exhibition halls, which is what's needed. Now, what would that translate into in terms of economic output? Almost double the economic output, from 30 million a year to 60 million a year. So these are really extraordinary numbers. They're significant numbers, and they're numbers that we just can't ignore. So The short answer on that is yes, I'm very supportive of the expansion project. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for our economy, for jobs, for maintaining Lexington's position.
You feel that to do otherwise would be costly, it sounds like.
Well, often the option to do nothing is costly. It's very costly to do nothing. When we stand still, we go behind. We get behind when we stand still.
Update us on the town branch project. I know that is something that is near and dear to you, that you've been working on since assuming office.
Well, what's the town branch? Many people still ask, what is the town branch? Well, the town branch is the tributary of the Elkhorn around which the city was settled. Lexington was settled in 1775, 240 years ago, a year before the Declaration of Independence itself was signed, Bill. So there's a lot of history that goes along with the Town Branch Creek that runs through the center of Lexington. Now, today it's buried for about 2 miles. It's buried underground in 2 large culverts. And it exposes itself in the back of Rupp Arena in the Cox Street parking lot. This plan calls for a ribbon of the bluegrass going through the downtown and connecting the Legacy Trail to the north with the Town Branch Trail to the west. So we would then have 22 miles of uninterrupted trails, along which we would also expose and celebrate some of the water features that the town branch represents. So yes, this is a remarkable feature. And why is it important? Well, it's not just important because of another park. It's important because it elevates our history, and it's about quality of life. And why is quality of life important today? Because it brings jobs. That's what cities across the country and really across the world know today, that our economy is stimulated when there's a great quality of life, and parks are what are common to great cities.
What is how did it get covered up? I mean,
well,
just as the city grew and developed, it was concreted over?
I don't know whether it's legend or not, but the legend is that the great cholera epidemic of the late 1800s really was the catalyst that to bury the town branch, because it was viewed then as often as an open sewer, because there was a lot of dumping into the town branch at that time. So, but over time we've cleaned that up, and today the opportunity to expose it in particular areas. We're not talking about a complete exposure, a complete revealing of the town branch, or daylighting, what it's called in other cities where this has been done. But it is important, to remember, this is not something new. This has been done in lots of cities across the country and the world. Most famously in San Antonio with the Riverwalk. That's a wet weather river, which means it's dry most of the time. The San Antonio River is. And they saw almost 100 years ago that they could do something remarkable with that feature. And since then it becomes one of the things that San Antonio is known for, and has been a huge contributor to their tourism industry.
All right, we're visiting with Lexington Mayor Jim Gray. We have a lot more to talk about. What does he know about the governor-elect, Bevan, who will be taking office soon? Also, a new way of regulating the taxi services, or deregulating taxis around Lexington. That and more on the way on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back into WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers as we continue to visit with Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, learn what's going on and Lexington's place in the state and the country. Governor-elect Bevan, a Republican, will be taking office on December 8th. He did not carry Fayette County. He did not carry Jefferson County, but he carried 106 of Kentucky's 120 counties. You've been put on an advisory economic development board to help the new governor get started, right?
Both Mayor Fisher, Louisville, and I were invited to join as advisory members the Economic Development Transition Team, which focuses on economic development in the state. And I think both Greg Fisher and I really appreciated that offer. And why is that? Well, because our cities contribute so much to the state's gross domestic product. Almost 40% of the total of the state's gross domestic product is contributed by Lexington's and Louisville's metropolitan areas. So The cities really contribute significantly, and it's a tribute to the governor-elect that he would recognize that, of course, and invite us to participate.
He's gotten some praise for some of his early appointees. Do you have every hope that he's off to a good start?
Well, absolutely. You know, he has selected a Lexington, not native, but Blake Brickman, who is a young attorney here in Lexington, who has formerly been chief of staff to Senator Bunning, who has had several roles in Lexington as an attorney. Blake is a great selection, has so much experience, and will bring so much to the table for the new governor.
Mayor, when you look around at what's happening in the world with terrorism, threats to homeland security, you know, what happened in Paris, obviously, and concerns in the United States, does Lexington plan in case of some sort of homeland event? Are we proactive in being prepared? Are there things going on that may not be visible to citizens to keep them safe?
Well, our police chief works so closely with our Homeland Security and with our Department for Emergency Management within the city. We've got what I consider to be really talented people in these divisions, working very closely. Now, I had a conversation myself with the police chief to ensure that what we're doing, especially for large events, is considered appropriate, and it is. And so, you know, as much as we need to be concerned, even at the local level in a city like Lexington, I'm very cautious about these things, and it's appropriate that we do be concerned. But my sense is that we are doing all that is appropriate to protect our citizens.
Do you get reports when there is something that is of concern, that there might be an issue that that at least the authorities want to check out?
Yes, and you know, the good news is that happens rarely. But our police especially are equipped. Our Department for Emergency Management is on the alert at all times and in contact with Homeland Security at all times.
The Lexington Fire Department is doing a trial run with allowing the paramedics to determine whether they need to run lights and sirens when they take a patient to the hospital. It's kind of quiet and the streets down a little bit. The theory is that it's dangerous to run those emergency vehicles through traffic if they don't have to. What is the early verdict on that?
Well, I think we're still examining it, and our Public Safety Commissioner Ronnie Baston, former police chief, has been leading that initiative, and I'm pleased to say that our fire chief, Keith Jackson, has also supported this initiative, and our fire department and personnel in general. What is important, just what you just said, Bill, is that there is evidence that the greater the use of sirens, the higher the likelihood of accidents. So we want to be particularly careful and mindful of that as we make these adjustments. It's a delicate balance, but it's one that I'm supportive of examining.
And I will say to you that we hear reports that sometimes that they're having to go to that just to try to keep up with the calls, that it's maybe the patient is not in critical need of getting to the hospital, but they need to get that EC unit back on the street.
Well, you see, and that's an example of the point of view that has to be carefully considered as we make any adjustments like this.
Uber and Lyft have changed the way people get around in some ways, and as I understand it, the city is scaling back really its regulations of the taxi cab. Well,
the city has adjusted and suspended its ordinance because the state has taken over regulatory authority for the ride sharing and for taxis. Now, the city has the authority or the opportunity still to regulate rates. We haven't done that historically, but this issue is going to be considered by a council committee, whether or not to regulate rates. But the licensing and insurance, those issues are now being addressed at the state level.
Where do you stand on that, on regulating the rates?
Well, I think what I'm going to do is listen to what the council committee, that's the appropriate way to do it, to examine it. I believe in a free in a free enterprise approach, and so we'll see where it goes. It's sort of like the sirens, you know, you listen to different points of view in these as we examine these issues.
When you got word, as we all did, that Lexmark may be fishing around for a buyer, does that concern you? Do you look at it as a potential opportunity? I mean, it's a major employer.
Well, Lexmark has had changes and adjustments in its history. Remember, if we dial back, Bill, Lexmark, before it was Lexmark, it was IBM. It was the Selectric typewriter. It came to Lexington in the 50s, a major investment by IBM. It then adjusted and went private with Clayton Dubilier in the early 90s. And that's when then it went public again as Lexmark. So what we've seen are adjustments and changes over time, and that, if I'm using again the language of a free enterprise, of capitalism, that's something that we can expect. Now, what the executives at Lexmark have shared with me is that they expect that their employment will remain the same. You can't fully commit to a model like that. You can't fully commit to that being the outcome. But I think my sense is that that is the full intention of the leadership at Lexmark today, to hold on to and encourage the employment of Lexington. It's a major employer here. It's a major business here, of course, and we want to do all we can to help them.
I should have gotten to this when we were talking about public safety, but these shootings that have been going on, we knew we had issues back in the summer, but they've continued to happen. And I know that's of grave concern to the police department as they try to solve them. As you know, a young man was gunned down in an SUV last week, a recent graduate of a high school in Lexington. How do you get a handle on that?
Well, regrettably, this is a phenomenon that is affecting cities across the country, and much of it has to do with illegal drugs, heroin, the increase in heroin use in the country. All of these are regrettable circumstances. Now, our police chief has said, and will say often, in an effort to not to diminish fears, but just to put us perspective on these issues, that our police chief will say, unless you're involved in an illegal activity yourself, you have a very small chance of being involved in a violent crime. So this is what I believe our citizens should remember. Now, that is not to say that we're not working aggressively on these issues, and I can tell you that our narcotics unit, I can tell you their violent crimes task force, working with our Commonwealth's attorney and all of our law enforcement officials across the board, our sheriff's office, all of our law enforcement officials across the board are working to tackle this troubling issue here in Lexington, and one that affects us across the country.
All right, our remaining moments with Lexington Mayor Jim Gray on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers coming up in just a moment. Welcome back into WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We're glad you're with us today, and we're glad to be joined by Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, who comes in regularly and reports to us, and we appreciate that. There are some who have encouraged you to consider running for Congress next year. Democrat Matt Jones has decided he will not be running in the 6th District. Does that cause you to take a closer look at the race?
Well, Bill, you always ask me this question, and I typically answer it the same way. There, you know? I answer it the same way. It's flattering, it's encouraging to have people suggest that I run for another office, and I don't close the door to possibilities. But I'm very happy in the job that I've got today. It's an exciting job, it's a rewarding job, and so I have no tomorrow plans for something else.
Jones had indicated that he was recruited. He had made a trip to Washington to a campaign boot camp sort of thing. Do you hear from the party out of Washington? I'm not talking to anybody today in Washington. Today? I'm not talking. I have not had a conversation with anybody in Washington. Do you think that Democrats could win in the 6th Congressional District against incumbent Republican Congressman Andy Barr? You know,
what's remarkable about the democratic process is that one day it will look like it's a very fatalistic sort of tomorrow, and the next day or a week from now things can change. And that's what's always encouraging about our democracy, is that that different points of view can be vetted, and I think it's always a good thing to have a competitive campaign. Now, being a candidate once or twice, I've felt like, boy, it'd be nice if I didn't have a competitive race. But you know, when you have a race, you have to get out and you have to talk to the people and you have to confront the issues, and that's what democracy is all about, and that's what America's all about.
Lots of holiday events are going on. The tree lighting was Friday in Lexington, and of course other events. Lexington will have a Christmas parade this week and lots of other things. Important time of the year for the city to show off?
It's a great time. It's sort of like the Breeders' Cup. In many respects, Bill, you know, we get a chance to celebrate and we get a chance to illuminate the city. We've got new lights in the downtown. Actually, coming over from the Breeders' Cup, we have the lights on Short Street, and new LED lights all along Main Street and Vine Street as well. So the downtown is looking good. You know, we go out into the suburbs. Our shopping areas are looking good, and the whole city really is.
And then there's some people who do their houses up, don't
and
they?
there are some good-looking houses. You're exactly
All
right.
Mayor Jim Gray, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it very much. And thank you for joining us for this edition of WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. I'll see you bright and early this week on WKYT This Morning. We start at 4:30 a.m. on Mid-Morning at 10 and WKYT News at noon. Make it a good week ahead.